Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to take you on a tech tour of a really cool church. I'm in First Baptist Church in Cleveland, Tennessee. At this moment, I had no idea the brain-melting tech tour I was about to experience. Let's go. This is Logan. His pastor calls him Boy Genius, and now he's working for SpaceX. And Logan is a really smart dude, and I will walk you through all of the audio, video broadcasts, and lighting systems in just a little bit. But first, I want to start with a really cool piece of technology. And as I always say, the best tech solves a problem. And at FBC, the problem they were encountering was trying to roll TVs onto the stage for preaching while this 50-voice choir was trying to get off. The solution? Dual motorized floating TVs that lower down from the ceiling. But it's not that simple, so let's let Logan explain the details.
This is called Kinesis. So this is all of our automation control for the TVs you probably have seen go up and down. So there's cues, so you can load a cue and then fire it, and then it's going to run the TVs down and a message drop down. So it's all pre-programmed to hit its spot. So like in this scenario, the TVs will come all the way down, but the backdrop will actually hold. It'll wait for approval to continue down, just because our choir is moving down, as they're still exiting at this point in the service. So there's a little warning light just so if anybody's in the way, they can see that. Backdrop stops, and it's going to wait for me to approve it to go down. So if there's anybody in the way, the TVs still hit their spot, so Jordan can start. So all of this is for pretty much the lighting control for the TV. So there's a sensor right here. It's just a photoelectric proximity sensor. So it's sending out like an infrared, it's a SICK DT35, and it's sending out like an IR beam down, and it's measuring distance from the floor constantly. There's also this sensor, which is a new project, which is going to mount underneath this water bottle, and it's going to measure how full this water bottle is, because we're always wondering, is there a water bottle back here?
No way.
And is it full or not? So eventually, I am going to program this it's a capacitance sensor. So it basically senses how much water. Brilliant. So like a $50 sensor to figure out how much water is in his water bottle. That's coming. That's a feature coming. But this is Ethernet control for the TV. The TV is all controlled over Ethernet through QSys. So it's every morning at 8 o'clock, it's polling everything to see if the TVs are on, if the volume's down, if it's on the HDMI source, like all that stuff. Checks all that stuff out, and if anything's wrong, then it will send a text message for me to correct it. This is a power supply for the actual light itself. This is the light. This is a power supply for all the sensors. So they're isolated. It's literally a forklift light. Like it is made to mount on a forklift. And then these are just terminals for the actual blocks. This is a global cache Ethernet. So Ethernet signals come in.
And it's basically a relay controller. So it knows it's hitting these relays here. As I say, this is a low voltage contact.
Why don't you explain this to me like I'm 5?
All right, so basically, the two Panasonic TVs are mounted to CM 2-ton chain motors from the truss. These motors are controlled via Kinesis automation control, along with some nifty programming that Logan did. And the TVs are also controlled via QSys, and they're sent signal from Pro 7 utilizing the props from Pro 7 to the vertical TV. Pretty cool, right? All right, so now let's move on to audio. All of the audio on campus is ran through QSys. Now, if you're like me and you're not really familiar with QSys, think of it like this server brain that controls all things on the network, including audio and video. And that's a drastic oversimplification of it, but there you go. For front of house, FBC uses a DigiDesign Profile 96-channel soundboard, and that controls their front of house mix and their broadcast mix. For speakers, they are still rocking the EVX Array speakers, and they have some front fills on the front of the stage that are the Rinkus Hines, along with some subs on the sides of the stage as well that are EVs. On stage, FBC has a very large choir, and along with that choir, they might have up to 8 vocalists on microphones and wireless in-ears on any given Sunday. And speaking of microphones, they're using the Shure Accent stuff for their worship pastor's microphone and guitar pack, and also for their lead pastor's headset microphone. And if you aren't familiar with the Shure Accent stuff, this is kind of how it works. The pastor actually wears 2 belt packs, which is sent to a single receiver, and that receiver is always scanning the frequencies to find the cleanest signal. And so it's a redundant solution to where you will never lose signal. And so it's kind of expensive and pricey, but they're a really cool solution. Another unique solution I saw was how they're running their tracks. They actually have a Mac Mini in their back server room that their band director can screen share with and run their Ableton session on stage. And this allows for less cabling and the ability for them to run tracks from other computers on the network via screen share. So like their sound guy can run the tracks. Keys players are running main stage for the most part, and their guitarists are all using Iridiums or Helix units. And there's much more we could dive into with the way they use QSYS and routing, but let's just say I don't want to make your brain hurt. So, all right, let's move on to their lighting. For lighting control, they're using a Grand MA console with 4 universes. And they're using a mixture of LED panels and various moving fixtures to create these dynamic looks. And some of their lights include Chauvet R1 washes, Martin Quantum washes and profiles, Roby Pat 2011s, and a myriad of Source 4 conventionals for their key light. FBC has a large number of LED panels and strips that they can arrange, and rearrange seasonally. And they're using these Abson A7 panels, which are actually 7.8 millimeters pixel pitch, and honestly, they look really good in the room. Those are using DV Star processing, and the control is coming from Resolume. And they also have a bunch of these Martin Septron LED bars. Those are actually 10 millimeter pitch, but they have these diffusion lenses on them to kind of soften it up. For haze in the room, they are using the trusty DF50. Can't go wrong there. So that's it for lights. Let's move into their video systems. FBC has a separate broadcast room, and it's outfitted very nicely so they can control, separate feeds to the in-room screens versus the broadcast. They've got raised flooring and all the things you need in a broadcast room. And I found it very interesting that they're actually still broadcasting at 720p at 5994. I guess that's what the TV stations that they use request, and that's what their cameras are doing. And so camera-wise, they're still using 4 or 5 of these JVC GY HD250s with Fujinon glass. And of course, those are on Satchler DV12 tripods. These are older cameras, but they're still doing the job for them. SideStage does use one of their Blackmagic Ursas with Rokinon glass. And they have a huge CamMate jib to get those sweeping shots above the crowd, but they have customized it a bit. It's pretty cool, so I'll let Logan explain that.
A feature we added was, so if you go down low, there's a limit switch that hits and it turns on a light right here. So when you get low enough, there's a limit switch to hit. So as you raise up, it'll click off.
Oh.
So the operator knows immediately that they're like to a point where they can.
You're gonna hit people in the head.
Yeah, like you could hit somebody. So that's their, be cautious light.
How does it know?
Yeah, so there's a little limit switch right here. You can actually see it. So as it goes up, this little wheel rolls, and then as it comes back down, you'll see it.
Oh.
It's very simple. Boom, on.
Do they sell that as part of their thing, or did you add that?
So we added that. It's just a simple square D limit switch. You can buy that off the shelf. But that was like an addition that we did to it.
The produced iMac video is fed up to the 2 14,000 lumen digital projection highlight projectors. And those are rear projection. And then also, sending it throughout the campus. But for broadcast, they're actually just using OBS to send their feed to a service called Switchboard, which is similar to Restream, and then off to YouTube and Facebook, and then I think their website via StreamMonkey. Whew. All right, that was a lot of info. And if you're like me, it can be both exciting and at the same time a little disheartening when I visit a church like this. I see a single tripod that they're using is almost $4,000, and it's easy to get discouraged. But I hope that you see the ingenuity and the ideas that they have implemented there, and it inspires you to do the same kind of things in your context. And I also hope that it inspires you to hit that like button, maybe subscribe to the channel. So I do want to say thanks again to FBC Cleveland, Tennessee, and the team there for just taking the time to show me around. Remember guys, we can do a lot of great things. Let's do it all for the right reasons. We'll see you in the next one.